Welcome back to the Zera Culture Podcast. Season 3, Episode 5. Today we're stepping into one of those topics that can turn calm timelines into full-on battle zones in a matter of minutes. Cancel culture.
You already know the pattern. Somebody posts something wild, or an old clip resurfaces, or a screenshot starts making the rounds. And then it's like a switch flips. People start calling them out, reposting it everywhere, demanding consequences, telling brands to drop them, telling friends to unfollow them, telling everyone to make sure this person never gets a platform again. And sometimes, watching that unfold feels like society finally standing up for itself. Other times, it feels less like justice and more like chaos with a Wi-Fi connection. So that's the real question we're sitting with today. When we talk about cancel culture, are we talking about accountability? Or are we looking at something that's turned into punishment without process? Let's start with the part people don't always want to admit. Public callouts can be powerful in a good way. Before the internet worked the way it does now, if someone influential hurt people, exploited people, or acted recklessly, it wasn't easy for regular folks to respond. Information traveled slowly. Gatekeepers controlled what got attention. And if you weren't connected to the right people, your voice could disappear before it ever reached the room where decisions were made. Now the room is the entire internet. If you got a phone, you've got a microphone. If you've got a story, you can put it out there. And if enough people recognize it as real harm, that collective pressure can force institutions to move. Companies update policies. Public figures apologize. Organizations stop protecting people they used to shield. In the best-case scenario, the public becomes a check on power. In other words, sometimes what gets labeled as cancel culture is actually people finally refusing to let certain behavior slide. And that matters, because accountability is not supposed to be convenient for the person being held accountable. But now we have to talk about the other half of this, because the same system that can amplify truth can also amplify distortion. The internet doesn't just move fast. It moves faster than verification, faster than context, faster than nuance, faster than basic questions like, wait, what exactly happened? Think about how often a story hits your feed already packaged with a conclusion. The villain is selected. The outrage is preloaded. The comments are already full of certainty. And if you ask a question like, do we know the full story? That can get interpreted as defending harm, even when you're just asking for facts. This is where the mob effect comes in. When big groups get emotionally activated, individuals can stop thinking as individuals. People follow the momentum. They repeat what everyone else is repeating. They share before reading. They respond before understanding. And the louder the crowd gets, the harder it becomes for the truth to compete. And to be clear, this isn't about pretending people don't do harmful things. People absolutely do. But there's a difference between holding someone accountable and turning a situation into a digital stampede where nobody is responsible for what happens next because everyone can say, I was just joining in. So now we have to get even more specific because this is where most of the confusion lives, the difference between mistakes and patterns. Humans mess up. All of us. Every person listening has said something at some point that didn't land right, didn't reflect who they want to be, wasn't informed, wasn't kind, wasn't thoughtful. Growth is part of being alive. Learning is part of being alive. And ideally, accountability helps people learn and change, not just suffer. But then there's repeated harm. There's a pattern of behavior, a track record, a refusal to take responsibility, a cycle of doing damage and then hiding behind excuses. That's not the same as a single mistake, and it shouldn't be treated the same. The hard part is that online spaces tend to flatten everything. A one-time comment and a long-term pattern can get the exact same response. Immediate judgment, maximum punishment, no room to investigate, no room to clarify, no room to repair. And real justice doesn't usually work like that. Justice, the kind we like to imagine we want, tends to take time. It involves evidence. It involves listening. It involves process. It's supposed to separate rumor from reality. But the internet doesn't love process. The internet loves speed. And speed can feel like action, even when it's reckless. Now let's talk about something that makes this whole conversation even heavier. the internet's memory. One of the strangest features of modern life is that the past doesn't stay in the past anymore. Something you said 10 years ago can show up today like it happened this morning. An old tweet, a forgotten video, a comment from a different era of your life can get pulled into the present and judged by today's standards with no room to ask what changed in between. In earlier generations, people could evolve quietly. They could outgrow their worst opinions without the entire world replaying them on a loop. Now, we have digital footprints, and those footprints can follow you forever. So here's the cultural question we're still trying to answer. Should people be permanently defined by their worst moment? Or should they be judged by what they do afterward, by whether they learn, change, make amends, and move differently? Because if we believe human beings are capable of growth, we have to make space for growth to actually count for something. Otherwise, we're not building a culture of accountability. We're building a culture of fear. And fear doesn't create better humans. It creates better hiding. Now I want to zoom out because cancel culture isn't just a trend. It's a symptom. It's showing us what happens when collective voices become powerful at a scale humanity hasn't really practiced with before. The internet handed the public a huge microphone, and that microphone can expose real injustice. It can also magnify anger faster than understanding. One post can bring attention to harm that was ignored for years. Another post can ruin someone over a half-truth that never gets corrected with the same energy it was spread. Like a lot of tools in human history, the tool isn't automatically good or bad. It depends on how people use it. Are we using our voices to demand better? Or are we using them to feel powerful for a moment while participating in something we won't take responsibility for later? And there's another psychological layer sitting underneath all of this, and it's honestly kind of uncomfortable when you think about it. Humans didn't evolve in massive digital crowds. We evolve in small groups, tribes, villages, tight communities, where reputation wasn't just social currency. It was survival. If someone broke the rules in a small tribe, the group reacted quickly because one person's behavior could endanger everyone. That instinct is still inside us. Social media might be pressing the ancient button, the one that says protect the group, identify the threat, respond immediately. The twist is that our modern tribe isn't 100 people around a fire. It's millions of strangers with Wi-Fi, reacting in real time, often without context, often without restraint, often without any real connection to the people involved. And civilization is still learning how to handle judgment at that scale. So where does that leave us? Cancel culture sits right on the fault line between accountability and chaos. It can be a tool for correction, and it can be a weapon for destruction. It can amplify unheard voices, and it can create an environment where the loudest reaction becomes the only reality. Maybe the most important thing we can do as individuals is slow down just enough to stay human inside the noise. Ask what's true. Ask what's missing. Ask whether the goal is repair or revenge. Ask whether we're responding to harm or performing outrage. That's it for episode 5. Next time, we're getting into something that almost everybody wrestles with at some point: money culture. The stories societies tell about wealth, success, status, and power. Why do some people chase money like it's oxygen, while others chase freedom instead? We're going to break that down in the next episode. This has been a Zera Culture Podcast. Stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay connected to the culture. I'll catch you in the next one.